But first tonight, we need to get to some breaking news. Dr. Leon Haley, the CEO of UF Health Jacksonville, has died. Officials with UF Health announced the news this evening. A statement from the hospital reads in part, quote, Dr. Haley was a strong, inspirational leader and beloved son, father, friend, and colleague, end quote. The cause of his death remains unclear tonight.
Dr. Haley was the first person in Jacksonville to get the COVID-19 vaccine last December. He first joined UF Health in January 2017 when he became Dean of the University of Florida College of Medicine in Jacksonville. During his time in the River City, Dr. Haley also served on JEA's board of directors. First Coast News spoke with the president of the Duval County Medical Society Foundation tonight. Dr. Sunil Joshi said Dr. Haley truly cared about helping the Jacksonville community.
He was doing things regarding the social determinants of health here in Jacksonville, the underserved community, doing what he can to get vaccines out to the underserved community, getting COVID testing out to the underserved community that without him we may not have been able to do. I mean, he's just such a terrific leader and man who cared about more than himself.
You can read more about Dr. Haley and hear what city leaders are saying about his legacy right now on our website, firstcoastnews.com.